The Prime Minister is in India, kicking off a trade trip that also includes Australia and Japan. But it's the New Delhi visit that's sparking controversy. It's been seen as a sign Canada and India relations are thawing after a deep freeze over Canadian allegations that Indian agents were linked to the killing of a Sikh activist on Canadian soil in 2023. While senior officials in Ottawa are denying any current security concerns, Mark Carney's public safety minister said last week that there are, quote, certainly issues around safety and security of Canadians that we continue to engage in.
We have conversation around safety and security with the Indian government. Mr. Doval, who is essentially the National Security Advisor, was here 2 weeks ago. We had robust conversations. Our senior security personnel, including our National Security Advisor, Commissioner of the RCMP, as well as Director of CSIS, were in India several months ago. We will continue to have those conversations. Some of them are very difficult conversations.
Every Canadian Sikh that is coming to me, they are not feeling safe right now. We got to deal with this along with the trade.
Joining us now is Dan Stanton, former manager at the Canadian Security Intelligence Service. Thank you for your time, sir.
Oh, my pleasure, Ben.
There are lots of contradictions on Parliament Hill on the level of security threat that India poses to Ottawa right now. What do you think that level of security risk is with regard to India and Canada at the moment?
Well, I think the threat assessment has been pretty consistent the past year or so, that there's continued activity in terms of transnational repression and most likely in interference in our elections. That's probably ongoing.
Well, we've got the Liberal MP whose riding was the focus of suspected Indian government operations, contradicting a senior official in his party by saying this interference is in fact still happening. What sort of pressure are Sikh politicians and activists under in Canada?
Well, I'm sure those that are, let's say, MPs, Liberal MPs, are probably feeling some pressure in terms of the government going and the comments that were made last week versus the reality in terms of the safety of their constituents. It's a difficult situation, but you know, in my opinion, there's only one position to take, which is to stick up for your community.
Last year, CSIS called India one of the main perpetrators of foreign interference and espionage, and a report from the Foreign Interference Inquiry called India the second most active country when it comes to Canadian electoral foreign interference. In intelligence circles, is there any belief that things have changed since then?
Well, again, I'm retired, but these aren't things that you turn off with a switch. They're ongoing for years. They mutate a bit. They become more sophisticated. And you have elements involved that don't necessarily know who they're working for. So you can't just end it. You can't just make an assessment. And the same applies for transnational repression. You've got some criminal elements. You've got a lot of moving parts. It doesn't just stop. But what India's been doing, and Iran and Russia, is they have to engage these middle people. They have to use these proxies for surveillance, harassment, and in some cases assassinating people. So when you get into that murky world, you can't control it. There may be contracts signed, money exchanged, and they may not even know who they're working for. So the idea that this is all stopped is wishful thinking.
Then what are your concerns with Ottawa moving towards closer ties with New Delhi?
Well, I think we do need to engage India, and we do need to trade. The problem is the statement that was made last week, which suggests that there's no threat in Canada from the Indian government. That's not something I agree with. So I think that we're better off not making the statement and continuing to try to build a relationship, but to not be blind to these realities in terms of public safety.
Practically speaking, India is very hungry for energy products of all kinds, many of which Canada has. If deals are made between Carney and Modi on that front, what should Ottawa be wary of from a security standpoint?
Well, I mean, we got a trial coming up, and in relation to the killing of Mr. Najjar. And there could be a lot of information coming out later that the campaign of violence and the assassination plots were actually worse than we imagined. And so then there may be some problem in terms of what deals have been signed. You never know how the future is going to unfold. And that's why it's premature to make statements that there isn't a security threat and that everything's lovely in the garden just to get some trade deals.
Dan Stanton, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, you're welcome.